The recording started now, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to this October meeting of the Shard End Ward Forum, which we are again holding over the Teams platform. Before we get going, I need to give you notice that this meeting is being recorded, and any residents listening and participating in this meeting, you can take photos or indeed make your own recording should for some bizarre reason do that. Right, we have a slightly different agenda for this meeting than is usually the case, because at this meeting we're going to start off by having a presentation related to the Commonwealth Games Celebrating Communities Fund, because we have been allocated some £17,500 to bid into from this fund, and we need to give consideration to the round one application that we have received. So I'm going to pass it over to Dirk Wright, who's going to take us through this part of the agenda. Dirk, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, my name's Dirk Wright. I'm part of the Hodge-Hill Neighbourhood Network Scheme, along with my senior colleague Abdul, who was in the meeting today. We're acting as the ward facilitator for the whole of Hodge-Hill constituency wards. So within the Shard End one, we've got one application. Now, normally it's split up into 3 different fund streams: funding up to £1,000, funding from £1,001 to £5,000, and funding from £5,000 to £10,000. There are no applications for up to £1,000, and then there are no applications from £5,000 to, bear with me, from £5,000 to £10,000. We just had one in the 1,001 to 5,000 category. And part of the process is that the applying organisation gives a 5-minute presentation, and then the residents who attend the ward meeting, along with the councillors who represent the ward, give a vote once we've had a question and answer session delivered to the applicant. So without further ado, I think we should hear from Janice and Age Concern Birmingham on a project called Stepping Out, and it's in relation to the Commonwealth Games, and Age Concern Birmingham are applying to this ward, along with Kings Norton and Sutton Basie, for £3,333 within each ward. Janice.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're well. I'm just about to share my PowerPoint presentation with you then, and obviously I'll be here for questions afterwards. Hopefully it will all speak for itself.
You okay, Janice, with sharing? Oh, there it is. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it just seems to be taking a while to upload.
Oh.
You can see it now, Janice.
Thank you very much, Janice.
Thank you.
That was a really good video. Videos and pictures can tell a lot more than something on paper, I always believe.
Yeah,
So
of course.
Floor's now open to the citizens of Shard End Ward for any questions and any questions that you may have, and also questions from any councillors too regarding the project. So I guess it's just a case of somebody stating the name then asking the question.
Be gentle with us.
Guys, just so you know, I'm relatively new to Age Concern, so Karen's here to help answer any questions about Moorfield because she knows Moorfield a lot better than I. So thank
no
you.
pressure there now.
Thank you, Karen. No, just thank you.
Okay, so we've got to, sorry, Councillor Ward, please carry on.
Oh, right. Now let me learn my hand. Yeah, the question I have is not about Moorfield Hall in actual fact. I can remember, I don't know how many years ago it was now, that we entered into partnership with Age Concern and the hall was refurbished as a result. So I'm very grateful of the partnership we've had with Age Concern over many years now, because the truth is the hall had become very, very dilapidated at that point. So my question's more about this is an initiative to connect people and communities with the Commonwealth Games that we are very fortunate to be hosting next summer. And other than the fact that these are sporting activities by and large that you're going to encourage people to have a go at and participate in, I was struggling to see how you're going to connect this activity and the people that take part in it to the actual Commonwealth Games themselves, so that people appreciate that what they're doing is connected to the fact that we have this, well, once in a lifetime opportunity really to host this mega event.
I think really all we can do is try and bring people together to encourage a sense of like team building, competitions, just getting involved. I know it's a little bit harder because obviously our events won't be able to replicate what naturally goes on in the Commonwealth Games, but
Although
you know,
I'd like to see a bit of archery, to be honest.
yeah, but you know, there is still something we can do to create our own Commonwealth, you know, our own games.
Yeah, I think what I was more getting at is maybe as people are encouraged to come in and participate, that there is some material or what is said connects people to the fact that we're doing this because Birmingham is hosting the Commonwealth Games. Interestingly, actually, Karen, I tried really hard to get archery into the Commonwealth Games, but in the end I was unsuccessful. And the reason I tried so hard was that I kept making the point that archery is a sport. I think it's the oldest sport still going in this country, and we've got this connection to the oldest archery club in the country. It's just up the road from Birmingham. So I really wanted archery in, but in the end, I had to give way and we didn't get in. So maybe the fact that if you are doing some archery, that kind of compensates the fact that it's not in the Commonwealth Games at all. But I would like to see some material that explains to people that this is happening in order to connect them and this community to this event that's taking place at various locations, not just in Birmingham, actually, but across the wider region. And it is, as I've been saying, really, we'll never get a chance to host this again, certainly not in our lifetimes. So just making that connection, I think, is quite important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll probably need to take a stronger look at how we actually market the Stepping Out project then, just to meet that point that you've just made.
Okay.
To make the connection stronger.
How we can obviously do paperwork's the wrong word, but we can do that internally, you know, in a kind of, this is why we're doing this for that. But at the moment, because it's at the stage, and I know you'll all be fed up of hearing we're coming out of a pandemic, but we're just breathing a bit, you know, and it's like, well, not when we need to do that, we'll do that. Let's see if we're successful. But I understand in order to be successful, you want some reassurance that that would happen. I get that.
Thank you.
Councillor Donaldson, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Dirk. Yeah. Ian, was that the Meriden Club you were referring to?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Meriden.
Yeah. I do watch it myself. What I wanted to ask about the Stepping Out project, the trusted tradesperson. I know there's a big demand in Chardenne for tradespeople from elderly residents, but they find a lot of the prices that the organisations are charging very prohibitive. What sort of prices will you be charging? An hourly rate, for example?
I think for us, we did have a dedicated person, but then they had to shield, and so it went on. So now we have a group of trusted tradespeople who go through quite a rigorous recruitment, a DBS checked, etc. And we've got like quite a lot of gardeners, a few gas boilers, you know, like we've got quite a wide breadth. So they will go out and they will let us know the quote. So it's not us setting a price, you know, a standard, I don't know, per hour. It's what they do, but we normally try and get a couple of quotes for people and let them know what they are and see if they want to take that forward, because we found that was a bit more beneficial than us having a flat rate hourly, because I get what you're saying, you know. Because sometimes for some people, I've only known this once, and I'm not saying we did it, but somebody wanted a couple of light bulbs changing, and like, how can you charge that hourly rate for that light bulb changing? That's a mad example, but I remember that quite early on when I joined Age Concern. It was, obviously we had volunteers, but then you have to risk assess because it's up on steps and etc. So it is pretty much, we've got quite a pool of trusted traders now.
The main ones that I'm hearing is about gardening, sort of just grass cutting basically, and just basic gardening.
Yeah, we do have a lot of gardeners, and this is going to sound like a bit of an excuse. There's 2 ops managers, and Dawn, who we've selfishly give annual leave to, because apparently we do that sometimes. She does all the products and services, so Dawn would have been better placed to give you more information. I just know from the outside, because I tend to do the hands-on kind of services, but I just see the referrals coming in and out.
You have a sort of ballpark figure for the hourly rate?
I wouldn't know, but I can get back to you on that. If that's okay.
Okay.
Diane, I actually handle the calls that come through from the public when they actually request or they're looking for help, and it's myself that actually contacts the referral team. So if you want me to, I can get you some prices on the gardening if that would help.
Please, because I know a lot of people would be interested.
Yeah,
of course, yeah, okay.
Have you made a note of that, Janice?
Yeah, I've got that.
So going back to the questions regarding this application for the Commonwealth Games, there's a message in the chat from Pat White, and the question, I believe, is what is the connection with this application to the Commonwealth Games, the diverse communities and the different cultures?
And the what different what, sorry?
Different cultures.
I know it's quite a statement, but you know, Birmingham is very diverse, isn't it? In its communities, and even, you know, from Chardenne to Sutton Veasley to whoever, there's lots of different communities that are in there, and I'd like to think that, you know, we would work with those communities to meet that diversity, and, you know, look at cultural implications. Or not, implications is the wrong word, you know, meet those needs. Sorry. It's the end of a long day. I am sorry.
So with regards to the question again, if I might add, the application already states that what's going to happen. So is there such a thing within the application of the project of an open door where it's open to all without any restriction?
Well, this is in terms of the activities, Dirk, yeah? Absolutely. Well, we're going to try and cater for all abilities, all interests, basically. So there's not necessarily restrictions, but it's making sure that the activities that we offer, we aren't naturally excluding people. That's where we'll be looking to offer, for example, if it was a physical event, then make sure that if someone doesn't have good use of their legs, for example, then they can do a version of it that's seated. So having different activities to suit different abilities. So not looking to restrict anybody really or exclude anyone.
There's another question in the chat from Claire Hardwick from the Neighbourhood Development and Sport team, the NDSU, basically. And she's just wondering how the activities may be sustained after the funding period, and how anyone who enjoys an activity can be enabled to continue them long term.
Okay, well, this is where naturally we'll be looking. There could be that there's someone that comes consistently that we could then ask to maybe continue as a volunteer for us. We always try to identify almost like leaders when we run certain activities as well. And there's naturally some that would be happy to continue, you know, to host that activity as a volunteer. So we'd be trying to find people that would continue to deliver those groups, but obviously at minimal cost. So we would like to see. Sorry, Karen.
No, go on.
No, yeah, naturally, you know, this opportunity will allow us to experiment and maybe offer what we've never been able to before. And it could be that this is where certain things do prove highly popular, and therefore we'd be looking to continue them in the communities.
And I think as well with NNS looking at other local assets that maybe there can be some joined up or some support or some long-term support. Obviously, we would carry on with that support as well.
There's I believe that Roger from Birmingham Healthcare NHS Foundation, got your hand up, Roger.
Yes, I'm here with two hats on. I just happen to be using an NHS laptop. But yes, funnily enough, I was actually going to help Age Concern out there. This is not actually Commonwealth Games, but there is a scheme through the health service which will involve mainly primary care, but also community care, and that is social prescribing. This is exercise and other things. So obviously the right thing here, I would suggest that Age Concern looks into what social prescribing is and try and identify a local link worker. I can't help them with that at the moment. While I've been involved with this at Warwick University, I haven't actually got as far as knowing who the link workers are working within primary care. It's coming.
We do have links to some social, I can't say it's prescribers from some of the services that we do. I think we have about 2 or 3 at the moment, but yes, that's a good point. Roger, is that a background you've got, or is that your house? It looks very peaceful.
It's a background.
Oh, I'm disappointed now.
It's beside the canal somewhere.
Yeah, that's very nice.
And funny enough, I've just come from Moorfield Hall.
Oh, right, okay.
Because I'm also Chardin Communities.
Oh, okay. To be honest, it's been nice for me to put faces. Like I know I've emailed Dirk or I've been in email conversations. It's nice to put faces to people, I think, after, you know, everything being kind of online and virtual. So, but yeah.
Can I ask if there's any more questions from the citizens of Ward End who are attending the meeting at the moment? No. Is it okay if I ask a question?
Oh, depends. Yes, that'd be lovely, Dirk.
It's regarding the application again, and I'm just wondering if you can tell me how the application links into the ward priorities for Shard End, please.
Sorry, me and Janice were just looking at it.
Oh, yeah. I
I'm
can't
sorry,
hear you.
I can't answer that off the top of my head. I can't. I should have been more prepared. I am sorry.
No, I was about to say, I honestly couldn't answer that myself, but I would happily come back to you tomorrow, as yeah, I would just need to look at that.
I'm just wondering if Councillor Ward may be able to highlight the ward priorities for Shared End.
Yeah, well, I think I should be able to do that, but it's been a while since we agreed them. What I was going to say is that Shard End has a high proportion of elderly people within the ward. I think we are possibly in the top 3 for the highest percentage of elderly and retired people. So it's clearly of a need in Shard End to engage with that sector of the community, especially to link them into the Commonwealth Games. For many of them, their only opportunity to interact with the games will be over television and watching the games on TV. So giving this opportunity for people to come and have that connection with the games and have a go at some form of sporting activity, I do think is quite important for a ward like Shard End.
Good.
And not particularly just watching it on that TV, having a chat about some of those things as well whilst taking part.
Actually, what you pointed out, Janice, in one of your earlier slides about the increasing pandemic that's run alongside the actual virus pandemic, and that is this increasing situation around social isolation, which I do think is something that we're going to have to get to grips with as we go forward, because for increasing numbers of people now, they do find themselves living on their own in a home that they've shared throughout their lives with another partner and children, and maybe their partner has passed on, their children have left home, and really trying to connect people up and remove that isolation, which in all honesty, it can lead to the premature death of people. So I do think this is an ill that we do have to increasingly seek to address, because more and more people are finding themselves in this isolated situation.
Yeah.
Many are scared to make that step back out as well, aren't they? It's like, I'm quite comfy where I am. Winter is coming as well, so I'll just stay here and hibernate. I'm hearing that across a lot of the services, you know, when we're trying to engage people to come back into services, some just, they're quite scared, you know.
There's a couple of people with their hands up. I can start with Councillor Olsen first.
Thank you, Dirk. I just wanted to know about the age criteria.
The age criteria at this point, I will be honest with you, I'm not setting any specific age, simply because I'm not looking to exclude younger people either, because this is about bringing communities, people, families, everyone together. And this is where, just touching back on some of the activities that will be offered, I'd like to, you know, be able to offer them in different stages, different levels, so that it will naturally appeal to a wide age group, depending on their ability and their interests and what they're looking for.
And I know pre-pandemic, we had very good links with Brownlee School, their primary school. Not only did they come in and do, you know, Christmas concerts and whatever, but they came in with one of the projects we were doing, and the older adults were sharing memorabilia with them and having the chat, and they came back and then was replicating it in an arts and crafts way, and that was lovely. That was just before the pandemic, you know, and it's just picking up pace, and then it stopped. So, you know, we do.
So there is no limit on age, so it could be any age group.
Yeah.
Children.
Yeah, I really don't want to rule out age groups at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I want to try and include as many, you know, people from the community as possible. Even like somehow, I know it's hard because of the space and what you've got, but even like, you know, you can even have families coming together to compete and represent themselves.
And will you be facilitating people with disabilities?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And special needs?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, obviously there's still a lot more work that needs involved, but as I said, I'm not looking to exclude anyone at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Before I ask you to speak, Roger, there's a couple of things in the chat that I'd like people to pay attention to. There's a couple of things from some external colleagues. One of the priorities is healthcare and older people. Shard End, and also helping and supporting vulnerable children. So I think you've covered those aspects of the ward plan in your answer previously. I'm just wondering, Roger, what your question is. Maybe you can share that.
Yeah, I seem to be doing age concerns job tonight. So one of the conversations I had down at Moorfield Hall was obviously to Shard End community is trying to sort of come back after the pandemic, and I went down to talk to Lizzie there to see if she would come and join us. But while I was there, I actually watched their Let's Eat Cake event that's going on this evening, which is a lovely thing. And in the conversation, we remarked about how the demographic of Shard End is changing over the years that I've been here. Once upon a time, I mean, it started in what, 52, 53, and it was mainly sort of war veterans and this sort of thing. So gradually over the years, it's gone from an older population to a growing younger population. And as I look out of my front door, I can see one or two younger people in households, quite often single parents. And I just wondered, with the Let's Eat Cake and that sort of thing, you know, why not adopt a granny and eat cake together?
Yeah,
I'm sure
that is a really lovely project, that Let's Eat Cake, and that was one that started and then stopped, and it's just building back up again. That actual application was it was from Aging Better, so it was for a specific demographic of people, but the pace it's picked up, and you're quite right, and Lizzie's very knowledgeable. She lives in the area, doesn't she? As does Sue and two of our trustees. So they will often identify groups where they go, can we not tap into this? I don't mean, oh, I'm dying. I don't mean groups. Sorry, my other half's just going to get me lead. I don't mean specific groups of people, but they can just bring my bag. Sorry, I'm fading. You've all gone dark.
We're still here, don't panic.
I'm just wondering if Beverly or Councillor Ward, Councillor Olsen, can help me on the guidance I have in front of me at the moment regarding the voting. Do we have a minimum of 6 residents in attendance?
I'm a resident.
I'm just checking for you.
I think we do, yeah. Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we've got 5 residents, haven't we? Plus myself.
Okay.
And I've got another resident here with me as well.
Oh, right. So we've got 6.
Yeah, right. I'm a resident as well. Sorry.
How are you, Kevin? I didn't know that.
Yeah, just down the road.
Hi, Kevin.
I'm just conscious of the time and the rest of the meeting that you have to deliver. I'm just wondering if everybody's finished with the questions, that we can do a quick summary. And before we do the summary, we'll need to ask Janice and Karen to leave the meeting while we carry out the selection process.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Thanks, folks. So we have a situation at the moment where we have one application, which is not unusual because we've got that across other wards too. So some great questions been asked. Is everybody happy with the answers?
Yep.
Yep.
Some of the chat comments are really good as well, because they give some excellent ideas on how the project can sort of meld into the wider perspective. One of the 2 of the things that came out for me highlighted from the questions was what you asked Councillor Ward on, how does it link to the Commonwealth Games properly, and they've said that they want to address that by creating some sort of publicity and social media awareness raising to link the project to the Commonwealth Games. Is that a suitable answer for yourself?
Yeah, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. In actual fact, if we do go ahead with this, I can probably, and indeed Diane, the two of us can probably help with making that connection.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think they missed opportunities there. I think that's just a presentational thing. I do like the scheme.
Yeah.
And the other one that what came to what I liked was the one from Cllr at the Neighbourhood Development Support Team on the Commonwealth Games, how it connects to the project and how the diverse communities and the different cultures.
I think we've lost Roger.
Sorry?
No, still here. Keep going, Dirk.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, the other point raised by Cllr on connecting the Commonwealth Games, the diverse communities and the different cultures. Does everyone feel that was answered in a positive way?
Yep, I'm happy with that.
So this project is going to be run from the early part of the year until July. Just to make you aware that there's no restriction on having the money spent by the end of March 2022. Projects can carry on beyond that financial year end. So I think with the summary that we've got regarding the questions and everything else, I think maybe it's time to move on to the voting process if we can. So that would be really a show of hands or a voice from the residents who are not on camera at the moment. There's a last thing before we do the voting. There's something from Karen Cheney, who's part of the NDSU, to confirm that the proposal meets the criteria for the Commonwealth Games. CCS, I don't know what that means exactly, the small grant scheme. So it meets the criteria, I guess, for the Celebrating Communities small grant scheme. So I guess it's a show of hands or something in the chat to say that you're happy with this application. And then what I can do is I can read out, well, the meeting's been recorded, I can read the voting, what's in the chat, so it's on the recording.
Okay.
So if that's all the votes that's come into the chat, I'll read them out for the benefit of the tape. So we have Roger Leake, Birmingham Community Healthcare, NHS Foundation Trust and Shared End Citizens Residents in favour of the application. Councillor Donaldson in favour. Councillor Ward in favour. Kevin Gibbon is a resident, I believe, in favour. And then we have a message from Councillor Donaldson who has a Joyce Sayers, who's a resident who's with her, who's also in favour, and she's camera shy. So if everyone's happy with that voting system, we can record that as an accepted proposal, and we can move forwards to the next steps in contacting Neil and his team at NDSU to move this project application forwards. Is everyone in full agreement with that next step?
Yes, yeah.
Fantastic. Beverly, I think that calls a close to the agenda we have for the ward facilitator.
Well, Dirk, just before you wind up and pass back, I wonder if I could ask you a question, because we still have quite a sizable chunk of uncommitted money here. So we do need to encourage other propositions to come forward. Is there any restriction on schools putting forward propositions?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, we don't really know too much about what happens with any unspent funds or what's available. Oh, there's a message in the chat from Karen to say that schools can apply. So that answers your question.
In which case, then I will encourage. Well, certainly one of the schools. Oh God, the name of it escapes me. Jill Sparrow is the head teacher. She's very, very proactive head teacher. I'll have a word with Jill and see if she can't put something together.
Councillor Ward, is that Hillstone you're referring to?
It is indeed Hillstone. Diane, your knowledge of my own ward exceeds my own. You put me to shame.
One other thing that we were unsure of and we need some confirmation on is obviously there's going to be there's some money left for round 2, which has already started for applications, and that ends I believe at the end of September, early January, before the next selection process begins in the new year. One thing that we weren't sure of is whether the £17,500, for example, for this ward, whether that is rolled over into round 2, or whether the £17,500 for round 1 and £17,500 for round 2. That's something that we're not quite sure of at the moment. So if anybody had that question in mind, I won't be able to answer that one. So the closing.
Okay, I think.
Sorry.
17,000 is just that's the total amount. 17,500. That's a total amount for round 1 and round 2. So it's a one sum of money.
Okay. Okay. So that answers that query. That must be what we're going to put towards Neil. So that's been confirmed as well. Thank you in the chat. And the closing for round 2 is the 30th of November.
Okay, so if I speak to Jill, one of the local head teachers, she's got to get something into us by the end of November.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you visit the website, the council's website for the applications, it's all done online. It can be printed and completed in a different way. And just bear in mind that Birmingham Community Matters are offering some support on completing applications and delivering the pitch if successful.
Okay. Rog, you've had your hand up for some time.
I don't know whether you're aware, so I will sort of like reassure you that Shard Communities does have a bid in, which is supposed to be going forward to round 2. And the reason it's doing that is because of I required answers from various officers of Birmingham City Council, and nobody has provided the answers that we required. So that's why we're in round 2.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're still struggling for some answers, Roger, if you drop me an email, I'll ensure they get answered.
Okay, right.
Okay, thanks very much, Dirk.
All right, thank you. I'll leave this meeting now, and I'll get in touch with Neil and I'll update everybody once I get some update myself.
Thank you.
All right,
thanks for your help.
And thank you. Enjoy the rest of the meeting. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Thanks, Dirk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that now takes us then to item 3 on the agenda, which is the Health and Wellbeing Board Strategy Consultation for creating a bolder, healthier city. And Luke is with us, who's going to take us through this. Luke.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, you're a little quiet.
Quiet, yes. On the quiet side, Luke.
Yes, is that a bit better?
Slightly. Oh,
let's see. Been having computer problems with Teams. Excuse me. I have to talk up a bit. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen if that's okay. Okay. So can you now see my screen?
Yeah, it's kind of overlapped with another document, but
Yeah. Is that better?
yeah, that's better. That's better.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for inviting me this evening. I'm Luke Heslop from the Public Health team at Birmingham City Council. So for those who don't know, we're responsible for protecting and improving the health and well-being of residents. And we also have specific responsibilities to help reduce health inequalities. I'm here on behalf of the Health and Wellbeing Board this evening to share with you an opportunity for you to get involved and comment on the draft health and wellbeing strategy for 2022 to 2030, with the aim of which is creating a bolder and healthier city. Okay, so having a strategy to improve health and wellbeing is a must-do for the Health and Wellbeing Board. The proposed 8-year strategy proposing creating a bolder, healthier city sets out ambitions up to 2030, and it contains a series of themes and cross-cutting approaches which point to action across the health and care system. Each section outlines its key action indicators to measure progress and the leadership required to action its ambition. The Health and Wellbeing Board is a place for political, clinical, professional and community leaders from across the health and care system in Birmingham to come together to improve the health and well-being of the local population and reduce health inequalities. And the board is made up of members from various relevant agencies such as Adult Social Care, Children's Social Services, Birmingham Council Public Health Division, the NHS, Health Watch, the voluntary sector and local representatives. The board was established through the Health and Social Care Act of 2012 and has been in place since 2013. And through the Health and Wellbeing Board, we at Public Health Birmingham work with other organisations to promote the integration of services and work together to improve health and wellbeing and tackle health inequalities, including those that have further worsened as a result of the recent pandemic. Now, the strategy has been developed over the past 3 years, and this included the Public Health 2019 Green Paper consultation that some of you may have been involved in. It includes the Joint Strategic Needs Assessment, Seldom Heard Voice Groups, ethnographic research and insight surveys. The delivery of the strategy will require leadership and action from the Health and Wellbeing Board subgroups and partner groups. And the proposed approach is for the strategy to be a framework signpost into action across the health and care system. The board recognises the importance of this framework into connecting with the emerging priorities of the NHS integrated care systems and their duty to address inequalities, and their responsibilities and strategies of the Police and Crime Commissioner, as well as other public sector, business, academic and community partners. Here's an overview of the strategy. The framework contains 5 core themes for actions covering the wider determinants of health, health protection and environmental public health. The 5 core themes run throughout the life course, which is split into 3 stages across the bottom of the screen in grey. The strategies contain 2 cross-cutting approaches, these are in blue, which are present in all core themes and all stages of the life course. And the overall goal of closing the gap runs through the entire strategy. Now, going into greater detail, of the 5 core themes in the framework, 4 here. These are those, of course. 4 of which already align with existing sub-forums. These are healthy and affordable food, mental wellness and balance, being active at every age and ability, contributing to a green and sustainable future, and the health protection forums protect and detect. The Health and Wellbeing Board supports a life course approach, and this is reflected in the framework, aligning with the Birmingham and Solihull Integrated Care System Outcomes Framework. The 5 core themes run through the life course, which is split into 3 life stages. These are getting the best start in life, working and learning well, and aging well and dying well. The strategy has incorporated the experience of and the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, alongside the ongoing commitment to equality, diversity, and inclusion. The strategy contains 2 cross-cutting approaches which are present in all 5 core themes and all life course strands. And these are mitigating the legacy of COVID and committing to equality, diversity, and inclusion. The Health and Wellbeing Board is committed to reducing health inequalities, and the aim of the strategy is to close the gap and reduce these inequalities. They exist across the city, so we need to address them and reduce them at pace and at scale. Health and Wellbeing Board's sub-forums will be tasked to demonstrate progress through their action plans. And the Closing the Gap section aims to address health inequalities linked to poverty, marginalisation, and structural barriers and challenges. The 5 key areas of inequalities that will be focused on are inequalities relating to deprivation, relating to ethnic communities, to specific wards, to inclusion groups, e.g. homeless populations, sex workers, and to disabled people. And the delivery of the strategy will explore these inequalities and attempt to address them and identify clear evidence of significant gaps for the people, with the intention to close the gap and improve outcomes for residents. Now, the impact of the strategy will be measured over the next several years, and during this time, delivery groups will identify specific measurable indicators that can be used in the short to medium term to track change and to inform the delivery of the strategy. And this table demonstrates how accurate data can inform the strategy and also underlines the public health needs within Birmingham. And it shows that on most indicators, we perform significantly below the national average. A particular concern is Birmingham's infant mortality rate, on the top line you may see, which is sadly one of the highest rates in England. Please do go to the Be Heard website to give us your feedback. And please also think about how what you read in the document can inform your own ward plan. You can ask questions to the Health and Wellbeing Board meetings also if you wish. So thank you for listening, and I'll pause there for any questions.
Thanks very much, Luke. I wonder if you could just put that slide back up that had the gap between Birmingham and the England average. Because I do think that it's quite stark in those graphs where we are in Birmingham compared to the average for England.
You're absolutely.
While you're putting that up, I'll just make my other comment while you're putting that back up. My other comment was on an earlier slide. I found the phrase "dying well" to be somewhat strange. It just struck me as the kind of thing you hear said in a Hollywood action movie. We've got to die well, we've got to die with our boots on, that kind of thing.
Yeah, how do you die well?
Yeah, I'm like, it's an oxymoron, isn't it, really, dying well? It reminds me of Spike Milligan in his gravestone, "I told you I was ill." Anyway, my more serious comment, Luke, is if you can get that graph back up, that slide that had the graphs on it back up. I'd just like to make some comments about what that was telling us. In the meantime, while you're doing that, I'll bring Roger in.
All I was going to say in is dying well is dying. He's talking about palliative care.
Oh.
Perhaps, I mean, for me, subject close to my heart. Obviously, with people with, say, motor neuron disease, perhaps people with cancer, that they die without pain and they die with dignity and with their loved ones around them.
Thanks for that, Roger. Yeah, that does make sense. Anyone else want to ask a question or any comments? Because this is a consultation that runs through to November, I think it is. So obviously this is an opportunity for us to give some feedback and some comments. Are you struggling to get those slides back up, Luke?
Yeah, sorry, just a sec.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, let's start reading.
I do think that does set out the scale of the challenge of trying to close these health inequality gaps. And that was going to be my point, really, that if those gaps are going to be closed, I question whether those gaps can be closed at pace, if I'm quite honest. I think this is quite a difficult thing to do, and is likely to take a little bit of time. And I also think it requires a holistic approach. So, you know, there's other factors out of the control of the Health and Wellbeing Board that come into play here. So having a warm, watertight home, having a decent, well-paid job, having access for your children to a good school and a good education, all of these factors come into it, I think, if we're to close these gaps. So I do hope that within this strategy, it is identifying that other agencies need to come to the table here. Not least, actually, the government needs to be doing more to help us close these gaps. And I don't see how these gaps are going to be closed unless there genuinely is an end to austerity in local government and a recognition from national government that council provided services have a role to play if we're to close these gaps off. Let me bring in Keith.
Good evening, everybody. Just to support Roger in his dying with dignity. That's Birmingham and Solihull CCG have been talking about that for some years now, and I assume they're doing some work on that continually. The last 20-year gap, well, the last closing of the gaps that we're on about, we were talking about this 20 years ago. And I have to say, and I'm not in any way blaming Birmingham City Council in any way, but the gaps don't seem to have closed much, arguably, or for discussion, they've actually widened. And the only way, at the end of the day, that you're ever going to do this is with the government putting in vast sums of money to close these gaps, which for the last 20 years, governments of both parties do not seem to have been too keen to do. And there's no reason to think in the immediate future they will do so. So those are just my comments.
I'm muting myself there. Thanks for that, Keith. I think you're in many ways backing up what the points I was making, that this sort of thing is difficult, and it does require other agencies, and as you've said, Keith, the government in particular, to really be committed to want to make some change in this area.
Absolutely.
Luke?
Yes, thank you. I echo many of those comments. Certainly about dying with dignity, a very important point. I think you a better worded appraisal of it as well. I'd like to share with you all that I lead the deep dive programme at Birmingham Council, and we write evidence reviews about health topics that support the Joint Strategic Needs Assessments, and we're shortly to publish an evidence review about end of life in Birmingham, and that really does focus on a lot of this data that you see in front of you right now, and quite alarmingly how it has stabilised over a lengthy period. So it's not going down so much, but it's not going up at all. So yeah, a coordinated approach is very much needed.
Thanks. Roger, do you have another comment?
Just a comment that, from my perspective, I look at this from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different perspectives. As a governor with Birmingham Community Healthcare representing this constituency, and I'm pleased to see that I think Richard Kirby, our CEO, is one of the candidates being considered for the chair of the Integrated Care Services. And I think it's with Integrated Care Services that I think that our best chances stand. I've looked at the social prescribing thing for Warwick University. Nobody's really come and talked to me any further over that other than the development thing at the university. My third sector involvement with the Motor Neuron Disease Association, again, nobody's come and talked about it, which was exactly the point that you asked about. How do you die well? Well, I think we're experts. And Chardin communities, when you look at these impact criteria here, I mean, this is Birmingham, but it could very particularly be Chardin. We've got more obesity and drug problems, you know, one-parent families, and all of these things buried in Chardin. But again, nobody's come and knocked on the door of Chardin communities.
Well, I'm sure, Roger, you've got the opportunity to be involved in this consultation through this meeting, and also on the next slide, I think it was, or the last slide, it does give the ways that you can input into this consultation. So I'm sure the council would welcome contribution from Chardin communities. Keith?
Just coming back to something Luke said before Roger. Now, around about 2015 to roughly 2017, Birmingham Cross City, as it was then CCG, and then Birmingham and later Solihull CCG, did quite a lot of work on this. And I thought at that time, if memory serves me well, that was with the Wellbeing Board at the time. So without in any way trying to down-do Luke or what he's trying to do, my only concern is that we're trying to do something yet again that's already been done, and I see Roger is nodding his head at me, that has already tried to be done, was not successful. I'm not sure why it wasn't successful, but I assume it will be one of two things, or three things. Either one, the money wasn't forthcoming. Now that could have been because either the Wellbeing Board for Birmingham didn't get the monies from presumably the government, or from the Birmingham CCG and Solihull CCG together with Birmingham and the Wellbeing Board, they didn't get it through the Department of Health Regional Centre at St Chad's. So again, without in any way trying to down-do what everybody said, this seems to come up every 2 or 3 years, but the gaps get wider and nothing gets done. And I'm sorry to sort of be trying to pour cold water on this. That is not my intention whatsoever. But on the other hand, somebody has to go back to the Department of Health or even our PM and say to them, do they really want to do whatever it is they're trying to do? Or is this just another situation where it's a talking point, but we haven't got a snowball in hell's chance of getting the money that's required to do the job?
Well, I think you make a fair point there, Keith, because as I've been saying, this is not easy. This is a very difficult thing to do, and it does require all the agencies involved, right from housing through to education, health and beyond, to be pulling in the same direction. And as you've been pointing out, there's no getting around. You're not going to be able to close these gaps unless you spend some money.
No, it's not a question of the agencies not wanting to do it, but we know all the departments that you've just talked about in Birmingham City Council, they're not sloshing around in extra funds at the moment. So based on that just based on that, and what I'm sure the Wellbeing Board tried this, I don't know, going back a maximum of 5 years now. You know, if at the end of the day, either the Department of Health or the Wellbeing Board back through their thing to government and cannot get the money from government, then it's going to fall on the wayside. And I just don't know anymore how we define, well, not define, but how we even start to get these cracks going, because if the money isn't there, the cracks aren't going to. It's a bit like the potholes that we keep talking about in the roads, isn't it? You know, you can keep filling the potholes up forever, but if you haven't got the money to resurface the road to begin with, then you know you're on somewhat of a loser. So
yeah, and I think it goes beyond the government, actually. I think there needs to be probably a debate in this country about whether we do want to close these gaps. And if we do want to close these gaps, then one way or another, we're going to have to pay more tax in order to create the money that will allow the government, local government and other partners to actually do something that will narrow the gap between, and let's face it, it's those in the wealthiest parts of Birmingham and the wealthiest parts of the country who live longest, who have the longest lifespan without chronic illness, and who suffer least from infant mortality. Roger.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I could think back to when there were similar discussions going on within the regional health authority. That's a darn sight more than 5 years ago.
By God, that's a long time.
Yes, but I think the answer really lies within the sheer size and complexity of the topic, and I think there were also political elements. At one stage, I can remember that Birmingham Community Healthcare were looking to get in bed, if you like, with the Black Country and Sandwell, and I think it was looking in the wrong direction. And this is why I have more hope with the integrated care, because I think Birmingham and Solihull are far better placed to tackle the big problems. And I would suggest the big ones are such as social care, which brings in Birmingham City Council, and obviously the mental health issues, because Solihull doesn't actually have, if you like, grassroots mental health capabilities. It's more secondary care and tertiary care, whereas Birmingham Community Care aren't mental health, but they are a grassroots type community organised, so that there is the scope there to work together with people like Birmingham City Council, both for social care, but also the other problem area, children and young people. And I do think it's got to be thought about on almost a conurbation-wide perspective.
Yep, I don't think anybody would argue with that, Roger. So, Luke, we've given you, I'm not sure how helpful we've been, but we've given you a little bit of feedback. we clearly think this is a huge problem, and certainly beyond the capabilities of any one individual. But hopefully you've got something there that you can feed back as part of this consultation, and we will obviously utilise the links you've given us if we want to feedback further.
Yes, please do, and thank you for so much passion in your comments. I agree, very complex subject, requires an integrated response, and yeah, things have to change.
Thanks very much, Luke, and all the best with pulling together this strategy. And we'll, I'm sure, wait with interest to see the document that comes out at the end of this process.
Thanks for your time, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us on to local updates. There is an information briefing that's been circulated with the agenda from the local police team, because I don't think we've got anybody here tonight from the local police team, but they have given a written update. Let me give my update. The one thing I just wanted to flag up, and hopefully those of you who live in Shard End have been aware of this, and that is that yesterday morning we had a visit from the City Council's new mobile household recycling centre. It was down on Nearmore Road between I think 7 a.m. to 12 noon. I did leaflet the roads around Nearmore Road to try and make sure people were aware that this was arriving, and I also posted the information on the Your Shard End Facebook page. So unfortunately I wasn't there yesterday morning to see it in action because I had to speak at a Eurocities meeting. We may well have left the European Union, but we've not left as a city the network of large European cities that we participate in and learn from. So I was speaking at one of those events, but I'm hoping that the centre was well used and lots of people turned up and disposed of their rubbish in the way that they are supposed to, rather than dumping it on the streets. I know, Diane, you did go down there, so you've probably got a little bit of information. I have asked actually to get the data from
I was there twice earlier on in the morning, and then just before it closed, and about 11:30 onwards, there was a stream of people running, and they work got around. Yeah.
That's good to hear. I will bring to a future meeting of this forum the actual data from this visit, the amount of rubbish they actually removed, and the number of people who did actually turn up to it. And we will be getting future visits of the Mobile Household Recycling Centre over the coming months, and we need to use it really to get that message out there that everybody needs to be disposing of their rubbish in the right way. Donald.
Hello, Ian Ward. Yes, I made use of that recycle centre in the morning. I got rid of four massive bags of rubbish, and one whole bag was equal to clearing my side of that driveway. That goes to those council garages. Now the other side of that council driveway still has not been cleared.
Okay.
Nothing.
I'll give it another go, Don. I don't think I ever got a reply from the query I made last time, so let me note that down and follow it up. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? Any comments?
Ian.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ian, something else. Now, the past 4 months, because the council have cancelled on the contract with the taxis to take my daughter to Hockley, for the past 4 months, I now have to take her, and it's beginning to get a bit stressful because the route I have to take is absolute total chaos. I have to go along the heath from Shard End Crescent, which got massive potholes. They still haven't finished doing that work. There's a sign there saying workmen on road slow. It should be worded slow workmen on road because it should already have been finished by the end of August and they're only halfway through the project. It's going to take until next year. So that's the Shard End Crescent, the Heathway, total chaos. I then have to go along Bromford Road down to that strange, awkward roundabout at Bromford. And there's total chaos there. When there's lots of rain, there's a big puddle in the road by that Fort Autos car dealership, and then along the Heartlands Parkway, there's potholes along there, both sides, mainly towards Star City. And then I have to go down towards Cuckoo Road to Litchfield Road, and there's some potholes along there. Now, along the Litchfield, then I have to go along to the Aston Cross where you got that clock, and the clock faces are still not being corrected. I then do a right turn, Park Lane, across the Walsall Road, Clifford Street, and then Wheeler Street, and then Bell Lane, not Bell, Well Lane up to Hockley, and then do a right turn and a left down to Key Hill. and almost every road there along that whole route needs to be resurfaced. It's absolutely terrible. Now, the other thing is, where you've got the Litchfield Road goes underneath the where the railway is over the top of it. There's a problem there in the fact that where is it on the map? Holborn.
Holborn Hill.
On the map somewhere, Holborn Road, which leads down to that Litchfield Road. There's sometimes the traffic coming off that and want to get on the Litchfield Road, and they're causing the blockage. And then when you got traffic wanting to do a right turn, there needs to be another phasing of a traffic light there for the traffic to do a right turn. Do you know where I'm possibly on about?
Possibly Holborn, yeah.
Well, I'm not entirely certain the location you're at, Donald, but if I could just explain to you that I'm afraid there's going to be a little bit of disruption on the road and highway network for several more months now, and it arises out of the fact that the City Council is in what's called a private finance initiative in order to maintain and repair the roads across the city. This is something the council entered into many years ago. It involves a number of partners: the City Council, the government, the banks who are funding this, and then the City Council's contractor. Now, unfortunately, the City Council's original contractor, Amy, got into a situation where they had miscalculated what needed to be done on the roads across Birmingham, and as a result ended up in an insolvent position. And in getting there was a long-running dispute between Amy and Birmingham City Council, which resulted in work not being done on the highway to the required standard. That dispute has now been resolved, fortunately, and the City Council have now appointed a new contractor, Cllr. And in order to catch up on that backlog now, what you're going to see over the coming several months, running right the way through to the early summer of next year, is the largest amount of money in the history of the council that's been spent on the highway network. So you're going to see a lot of highway repairs being carried out over this period in order to catch up on that backlog. Now, that doesn't help you necessarily, Donald, in the journey you have to make. But of course, we are where we are, and we've got to make these repairs now to the highway network as quickly as we can. So I'm sorry that your journey is not better than you've just described, but I very much hope that over the coming months you will see some improvement, albeit whilst that improvement is being delivered, there is going to be a little bit of disruption on the highway. Richard.
Yeah, all right, Ian. Yeah, see, the situation is it's only 8 miles, and it should take a calculation of 20 minutes to do that route. In many cases, it takes me 30 minutes because I have to weave around all over the road to avoid the potholes.
Yeah, and then of course, when the work gets done, Don, please, when the work gets done to repair those potholes, you'll then be held up by the roadworks on the road. But as I've just described, we are where we are, and we've got to do what we can now to repair the highway network. Let me bring in Richard.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks.
Hello there. Good evening. Can you all hear me there?
Yeah.
I just checked first of all I've got the right meeting. This is a Shard Communities Forum meeting. Is that right? Okay.
That's correct.
Just briefly, I run some sort of activities, entertainment, and I work for councils and community groups. I'm based in Litchfield. And I was really looking at maybe being involved in some of the Commonwealth Games events and activities that happen in the ward. I've tried to ring the Commonwealth, well, I cannot get a phone number or contact person for the Commonwealth Games in any capacity really, other than an info@email, which is a bit frustrating. So I just thought I'd introduce myself and sort of show what I do, if that's all right. I've got a website, etc., but that was just to introduce myself really.
Well, thanks, Richard. Unfortunately, you arrived a little late for the discussion we had on the Commonwealth Games. However, Beverly Edmead, who supports me in these meetings, can give you the contact number. I think, Bev, it might be best to put Richard in touch with Karen Cheney.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Richard. Yes, I've just put my email address in the chat box, Richard. So if you want to send me an email, send me your email address or just email me. I can send some details out, Councillor Ward. So we'll do it that way because Karen's is the head of our service. So
Right.
I'm quite happy to send you the information out.
Yeah, apologies for my late arrival. I didn't get in until 6:30. And then I thought, oh, good grief, I've forgotten half this meeting. But at least I've come on anyway. So
Yeah.
That's what I needed to do,
Yeah.
really. So if I've got a contact in Beverly, that's fantastic.
That's fine. Yeah, I won't hold it against you that you've missed half the meeting. But send me an email and I'll get some details out to you.
If I am get booked for an event, I turn up on time, believe me. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
Richard.
Thanks a lot, then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Keith?
Can I just ask, you said that there's a new contract. So is this contract or a new company taking over? So is the company taking over the previous contracts, or is the company that we're now employing to do this job on a new contract? Can I just ask that to begin with?
I think, Keith, it's a new contract. But Kevin might know more about this than I do.
Okay, can I just
ask? Well, just
Yeah,
let's get you an answer, Keith. Kevin.
So Cllr took over in April 2020. We took over the contract for highway maintenance, which is what we are going to continue to provide until such a time as either the City Council appoint a new contractor or Cllr get a continued contract for the PFI.
Can I just ask then, if it's a brand new contract, is the specification for the roads better than it was before? If Cllr don't keep up with it, is there a clause in that contract that they pay the council money back for what has not been done in the time that it should be done? And thirdly, can they, if like the last contractor, they don't fulfill their contracts, can we have a clause in it again that we can take them to court and each individual directors and get the money back from the individual directors as well as the company for losses that Birmingham Council may have incurred for them not doing their job as per contract, which again is exactly what happened with the last one.
I don't know, Keith, whether the law permits the council to pursue individual directors of a company when the company fails to deliver, but I can explain to you, and the contract will be set up in a very similar way. What happened with Amy was that they were not repairing the roads to the required specification, and the council, once it became aware of that, withheld payments to the company. And it was because of those withheld payments, because they weren't doing the work correctly, that contributed, of course, to the demise of the company. That money that was withheld is now being deployed back onto the highway network. As I said, we're spending a record amount over the coming 9 or 10 months on highway repairs. Now, I think what we need is we need a good contractor. I think we've got a much better contractor in Cllr. And we will see over the coming months whether there's a meaningful difference made to the road network. And certainly it is my desire that as all of us are driving around this city, we will see a marked improvement in the roads.
Can I just add to that, Councillor? I have to say the people are the same. The guys that are doing the work are mostly the same. The senior management is totally different, and the ethic of the company working for Cllr is totally different. And for me, that has personally worked, I worked for Birmingham City Council before Amy, before Cllr. I've been doing this for 25 years, and the work that we're doing under Cllr now is so much more ethical, and it's a good company to work for, and the money's being spent where it needs to be spent. Absolutely, and hopefully the residents will see the difference in the road network over the coming months.
And I don't disbelieve a word of which the two of you have said, but the problem is those are words that and they're not actions. So what program is enforced in a time-weary way that these things get done in a timely manner, as per program, as per specification, as per the contract as laid out?
So Keith, there is a programme, there is a specification. The City Council will be monitoring that the specification is kept, and we'll also be monitoring the rollout of the programme. And as I've been saying, you should see quite a lot of work going on the highway over the next 9 to 10 months.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Well, you know, like everybody, I hope so. But
yeah,
as you know as well, having brought this up now, in 10 months' time, if it's not right, I'll be asking the question again.
I look forward to that conversation. Look forward to that conversation, Keith. My diary is very, very full for the next 9 to 10 months, I tell you.
Diane.
Thank you, Ian. Kevin, can I just ask about the shortages of materials? Is that going to affect the work that Cllr are carrying out, and the price increases that we're all aware of in the building industry? The material prices are going through the roof. Will that affect budgets? Will it be affected?
We don't appear to be experiencing any shortages of materials. Deliveries are a little bit delayed on things like bollards and guardrail and things like that, but we're not really experiencing any significant shortages of materials or delivery dates.
Okay, and in terms of budget, are we on target?
As far as I'm aware, I don't control a budget, I'm afraid, Councillor, so I can't answer that, but I can feedback if necessary.
Okay, thank you.
And Kevin, do you want to just, because your local update is also on the agenda and we're rapidly running out of time, so I don't know if you want to give us just an update on where we're at?
Well, yeah, I can. Shard End, for the most part, is very quiet for the next couple of months. You've got no major schemes going on. We're doing an awful lot of reactive maintenance within the ward over the next couple of months. The list is quite significant, so I'm not going to sit here and read it all out. But there's going to be a lot of repairs carried out to various different roads within the ward. I mean, I can forward you that programme. That's not a problem whatsoever. But yeah, realistically, you're very, very quiet. The Shard Crescent scheme, that's coming to an end hopefully very soon. That seems to have been going on for a long, long time. I know there's been some problems. Brookmeadow Road, I believe, is now complete. We've done a lot of work around the island. Say a lot of work, apologies. We've done a bit of work around the islands at the Heathway. There's some more work coming up on the Heathway, especially along the centre line of the Heathway, particularly between Shard Crescent and Brookmeadow, because that is just falling to pieces. It's more reactive work in Shard at the moment.
Okay. And I don't know if you'd be aware of this, Kevin, but we are supposed to be having some speed cushions put down on Packington Avenue junction with Shard Crescent, and it's the junction that's got the sort of half moon roundabout in the middle. I don't know if you've aware of when that might happen.
I'm not aware of when it's going ahead, but I can find that out for you. I can speak to Alan tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be helpful actually, because I'd anticipated this work was going to be done at the start of the summer. We're now at the start of the autumn.
I think it may be down to the fact that it may be down to the road space with Shard Crescent being worked on as well. It might just be down to the road space. Can I just touch on? I think it was Don that mentioned Fort Parkway, Heartlands Parkway, and Bromford Lane. We're aware of the flooding on Bromford Lane, and we're working with Severn Trent to deal with that. I know it's not part of Shard Crescent, but it's something that I'm working on as well. And Fort Parkway and Heartlands Parkway I'm about to begin a project personally on those to get those roads resurfaced. We're going to identify the areas of concern and get it dealt with. So that is all something that's also in the process.
Thanks.
There's a lot of work coming up. There's an awful, as you said, Councillor, there is an awful lot of work coming up, and hopefully residents will see the benefit of this work coming up.
Excellent, thank you. Unfortunately, time has defeated us, and there's one further question I just want to pose to residents on this call. The next meeting is scheduled to be on Tuesday, the 23rd of November. I think, Bev, we're looking at 6:30 start time. But the question I want to pose is whether you think we should go back to face-to-face meetings rather than meeting over this Teams platform. I do think myself that the number of people attending is likely to go up if we go back to a face-to-face meeting because it's more accessible for people, particularly given the age profile of people across Shard End. So I just wonder, would everybody be comfortable if that November meeting was actually back in the community centre or the Wellbeing Centre on Packington Avenue?
Yeah, I would put my hand up for that. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay, Bev.
The only other thing on that would be if we could have a slightly later start time, though 6 o'clock is, I'm afraid, much too early, I think, for most of us. Well, I'm not at work anymore, but I have meetings or other things.
So what do we think? 6:30 or 7 o'clock?
Very early. So, well, for me, being selfishly personal, 7 o'clock would be better, but it's not about me, it's about everybody else. So anywhere between from 6 p.m.
works for me.
Would be great.
Yeah, and to be fair, Keith, when we were back before the pandemic, the meeting time start was 7 p.m. So Bev, can we arrange then to book the community centre, room in the community centre for 7 o'clock on that date, which I've already forgotten, 23rd of November.
I think I might have voted, so yes, of course.
Thanks very much. And thank you, everybody, for coming along tonight and for your participation. And I'm delighted to say we will all be meeting in person in November.
I shall look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Good night.